Hey guys, this week's sponsor is Cup of Tea. Cup of Tea is a premier online retailer of loose leaf organic teas and teaware. Based in Ontario, Canada, they are dedicated to enriching lives through the experience of premium teas specially made from organic ingredients, with each taste offering unique benefits to tea lovers all over the world and every drop telling a story. Their journey as a company began in 2008 when founder Taylor Lindsay Noel, an aspiring Olympic gymnast, suffered a devastating accident while training that left her paralyzed and in a wheelchair. Driven to overcome her challenges and transform her situation, she launched Cup of Tea in 2018 with the goal of providing the world's finest loose-leaf organic teas and teaware. Some of my favorite products include their cold brewer, which is this big-ass wine bottle-looking infuser, which you just drop some tea leaves in, put it in your fridge overnight with water, and in the morning you have cold tea, and it's delicious. I like to do a bit of chai and make a little chai latte for myself. They also have a lot of really great fruity teas. There's a mandarin one, a peach one, a berry one, and I've been experimenting with a couple tea cocktails myself. They are delicious. So thank you so much to Cup of Tea for sponsoring this week's episode, and make sure to check out their website today at www.cupoftea.com and use our code KNOCKING20, that's KNOCKING 20, for 20% off your entire order. And once again, that's www.cupoftea.com, and please tell them that we sent you.
This podcast contains explicit content and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Madison.
And I'm Hannah.
And you're listening to Who's Knocking?
A true crime podcast.
Yes, that's what it is.
That's us.
So, any business off the top? Anything happening in the world right now?
True crime-wise, or just in our lives?
Whatever.
You know, just taking care of dogs. Today I was watching some dogs while watching a true crime video on Jeffrey Dahmer, and it just got a little bit dark. I had to turn it off.
It got a little bit too much.
I was watching the part where he has the gentleman escape from his house and almost got caught at that time, which is insane. I had to turn it off. I was like, the vibe is not right with the dogs.
Yeah, I feel that.
They're like frolicking around.
I listen to a lot of very murdery podcasts, videos. Well, I take my kids to the park and
I was wondering about that.
Push them in the swings. And I just assume all the other moms with AirPods in their ears are doing the same.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
I think it's very possible. Well, if we don't have anything else, I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah.
On our scale, I think that I would rate this specific case approximately about a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
I won't give any reasons. At the end, I will give some reasons, and you can
6
decide.
is pretty high, because I remember, what's his name? Stephen Williams was like 3.
Stephen Williams was 3. But I think this case has some extra...
like creepy aspects to it.
Some extra aspects that make it pretty disturbing.
Okay.
Today's episode is about Canada's own Russell Williams.
Still don't really know who he is. I feel like I know the name. Don't really know who he is.
Yeah, this case kind of broke around 10 or so years ago. So
okay.
We would have been ending high school, 17, 18-ish. And I definitely remember it coming out. I've always known little things here and there, but I had never taken the deep dive that I took recently. And yeah, definitely a horrible person.
Oh.
Terrible.
Okay.
But a very interesting story. All right, so here I go.
Let's hear it.
So Russell Williams, he was born March 7th, 1963, to parents Cedric and Christine Williams, and he was actually born in Bromsgrove, England.
Oh.
Which I believe is near Birmingham.
Okay.
For reference. When he was still a very small child, his family immigrated to Ontario, Canada, the province that we reside in.
Yep.
And once they moved, their family welcomed a second son named Henry. While in Ontario, the couple, Cedric and Christine, became really good friends with another couple in their neighborhood named Lynn and Jerry Sovka. And apparently Cedric got super close to Lynn and they ended up having an affair.
Oh.
And their affair was found out and it prompted a divorce between both couples. And in a very fun turn of events, Christine ended up marrying Jerry Sovka. So they just swapped.
Okay. Well, worked out for everyone, I guess.
Kind of, because Cedric and Lynn did not end up working out. But Christine and Jerry, they got married and they stayed together until 2001 when they ended up getting a divorce. But it lasted for a while.
Okay.
Which is a very weird situation, but
so weird.
I guess it like works out. Like,
yeah.
It's a better scenario than just an affair and like everyone's marriage is ending. Like it was kind of like, okay, well, fuck you guys. Like we're going to get married.
Yeah.
And, like, they actually lasted.
Well, if you guys are going to do this, we're going to fucking do it too.
Yeah. So.
Okay. I respect that, I guess.
Interesting beginnings for that family.
Yeah. It must have been weird for the kids though. Getting real here, it must have been really fucking weird for the kids.
Yes.
Like imagine.
Yes. That would be extremely strange.
Yeah. So just digging into the seeds of, I mean, I still don't know who he is and what he did, but I feel like.
Well, I definitely think there's some weird family shit that like you don't really find out, but like there's some weird shit going on with the family, which we'll somewhat get into, but some of it I think is kind of unknown.
Interesting.
So after the divorce and the swappage and the new marriage, Christine took the kids, so Russell and Henry, with her and Jerry, and they moved to Scarborough.
Oh.
Which is, at the time, it was like a suburb of Toronto, but now it's a part of Toronto. That's the East End.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell was enrolled in Birchmount Collegiate. I don't know if you're aware of that school. I know the school.
Yeah, I used to live near there, actually.
Yeah. And the family, so he went to Birchmount, and then I believe it was when he was in grade 10 or 11, the family moved to South Korea for Jerry's work. And Russell stayed there for 1 year and then went back, but I believe his family stayed in South Korea. And he went and enrolled in Upper Canada College.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a very elite private school here. And he was, I don't know.
Boys.
And I don't know if at the time it was a boarding school.
Yeah.
I don't know if it still is.
I
have no idea. But so he was there without his family. And the family were very wealthy and according to other people, pretty snobby.
Yeah.
Birchmount School, which Russell was initially attending, had a pretty big mix of kids. So there's a big area in Scarborough called the Bluffs, and it's like right on the water, and it's a very wealthy community.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a lot of
like lower income families.
Yeah, in Scarborough. So there was a huge mix within Birchmount, and like apparently his mother didn't like that. And so I think that's why he ended up going to UCC after that. And UCC is like quite affluent. Like a lot of politicians have gone there, and like
like when you graduate you get a ring.
Yeah, it's super wealthy. All the like wealthy people here send their sons there. So
it's classy.
Yeah, it's very, very classy. Day class A. And so while he was attending UCC, and like I said, it was a boarding school situation, so they were in dorms, and lots of previous roommates and peers described Russell as quite a loner, and it seemed like he wasn't really close to anybody. He seemed to lack basic social skills. It's
not good.
Yeah, he was weird and standoffish and had very few, if any, friends.
Okay.
So, in 1982, Russell attended U of T Scarborough and studied politics and economics. During this time, he developed a reputation for being like a huge neat freak.
Oh no.
Apparently he made roommates and guests take their shoes off and wear slippers in his dorm room.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
And he folded laundry to like an extreme precision.
Yeah.
Which, like, I wish I had those skills.
Yeah.
Like, I do a lot of laundry and I am shitty at it. And, like,
mom life.
My drawers look like crap. But he was like, and like, I just think that's such a weird detail. And
no,
it's
it
like,
is a thing.
It's such a military thing to do, which we'll get into later. So people that he went to university with said that he was like an extremely meticulous and detailed person. His room was always immaculate with his folding and but everything else. And his spending habits were super routine to the point where like he would take a clipboard with him to the bar to like track down every penny that he spent.
That's weird.
He would always get only 2 beers and like he literally had a clipboard.
Weird.
Which is...
Who does that?
It's like, it's one thing to see a person do that and it's like, oh, that's a interesting character quirk you have there. Cool. But like for a university guy,
yeah,
like
it's weird.
A young university guy, like that's extremely out of place.
In general, I feel like most guys in university are the opposite of meticulous and clean.
Which is why it stuck out so much. I believe even there was some guy who said he was his roommate and he's like, my half the room was just completely like a regular. Like
that must have pissed him off.
Yeah, but it's like right down the middle. It was like just completely different.
Yeah.
So that was weird. And also throughout university, he never spoke about his family. He did not seem close to them at all. He generally stayed at school during all the holidays, the Christmas and summer holidays. He stuck around.
That's weird.
Didn't go home. So something was up with his family. I don't know what it was. He at one point changed his last name to Savka because his mother married the guy. But then at some point he changed it back.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's got to give you such a like instability for having that because both the marriages broke up and then got back together and then maybe there is animosity between them, we don't know, but I feel like just in general like divorce can be so traumatic for kids. So,
and it was a very young age and it's like not just a divorce, it was a swap.
Yeah, the swap, that's weird. Like how can you wrap your head around that when you're a kid?
It's
like, okay, now mom's married to this guy and then dad's married to his ex-wife. Like,
and I don't know if I said, but like all the swappage and everything wrapped up when he was 7. So
yeah, that's
like
really young. It's young, but it's old enough to be aware, I feel like. Like from what I've heard, if they're like 4 or 5-ish under, sometimes they're just like, I don't know what's happening for the kids. But then the older they get, that's when they start to be really affected by it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think like some kids could go through that situation and be like, meh, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like different people just get affected by different things.
Yep, that's what I've heard. Different like siblings in the family, like one might have like emotional challenges because of that. The other one might be fine.
Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah, that's weird.
So another interesting thing. So he did seem to be like a weird guy who like wasn't really great socially. I think in university he became a little bit better.
Okay.
And when he was in university, he became really well known for pulling very elaborate pranks.
So random. Okay.
Which this to me is unexpected as well.
Yeah.
So he would do regular stuff like putting saran wrap on toilets and stuff. But what he did a lot of was he would pick the locks on people's dorm rooms.
Okay.
Go into their dorms while they were not home.
Oh, where's this heading?
Hide in their closet.
That's weird.
Wait for them to come back and like start studying or something. And like 30 minutes into them being there, he would pop out and scare the shit out of them.
I don't like that.
It's weird, but also like once you start to see like what he did later in life, it's super weird and creepy.
I mean, it's already creepy. The fact that he waits like while they're studying and they settle in and like
he lets them get comfortable.
I hate that.
And then he's
watching them the whole time, probably.
Which is terrifying.
Ooh.
And like what did you end up seeing them do? Like these poor people think that they're like in their own
I'd be doing so much embarrassing shit.
Yes.
Oh no.
I do yeah. You don't want to see. Yeah. You even, like it's not even funny, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Whatever. So during university, he also started dating a girl who remains nameless, and she doesn't want. The only thing I saw one article referred to the fact that she was Japanese. That's the only thing I got out of her. I think that he was a. Ooh, what instrument did he play? I believe it was trumpet or something. He played in the band.
I played the trumpet.
Did you? Cute.
Yeah. Only had 3 buttons, so I thought it would be easier. It wasn't.
Yeah, I picked the clarinet because I thought it was small and you had to like, you could take it home and like, that's true. But like, it just got full of so much spit.
Oh yeah, ew!
Disgusting.
And then years later, we started using our trumpet mouthpieces to create bongs out of water bottles. It was like the perfect.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's just the saliva I can't.
Yeah, that's disgusting. And when you empty it out and the saliva pours out.
I hate saliva. And I have the drooliest child in the world also.
Yeah, that your child's cuteness makes up for it though.
Yeah, it's true. I'm not grossed out by his drool, but I was grossed out by my own.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think she was in band, some sort of band. It's possible. I don't remember and I don't know. But all I know is that their relationship was not great. Okay. Apparently, she never really had any time for him. She was like, she took her studies and stuff really seriously. So he was always complaining that like she never spent time with him. Mm-hmm. And eventually she broke up with him and he did not take it well.
Oh no.
As I don't think any university guy generally takes being
That's true.
dumped very well. Like,
Yeah.
they don't like it.
Yeah.
So after she broke up with him, he kept trying to get her back. He would send her roses.
Oh, that's nice.
He would wait outside of her classes.
Nope, that's not that nice.
And then she just went up to all his friends and were like, could you tell him to not do that? Could you, like,
yeah.
get him to leave me alone? So she never got back with him. And after the breakup, he started watching the movie Top Gun constantly.
Sure.
Which it's a Tom Cruise movie, yeah. And it's about him. I think it's about him being in the Air Force. I don't remember. I watched it a long time ago, but I don't really remember. But he like started watching it a lot and like memorizing the words, and like that's all he would watch. And he really identified with Tom Cruise's character.
Okay.
Which makes sense because he ended up joining the Air Forces. But let me just backtrack one little second, because just a very interesting fact for people who follow true crime, especially within Ontario. Russell attended U of T Scarborough at the time that the infamous Scarborough rapist was prowling about.
Oh.
The Scarborough, and so like it was at the time when he was at university that like the guys were escorting girls around because somebody was going around raping, and that person ended up being Paul Bernardo.
Yeah.
So there was like
area.
Quite a crossover, and like they would later end up in the same prison. So like it's interesting. Just a little tidbit for you. So after he graduated from U of T, he joined the Air Forces in 1987. I think that he had initially been given a job offer for the RCMP, but he denied he didn't want to do that.
RCMP is the Canadian police that ride horses.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
If you watched what's that? Super Troopers, you know what they are.
No, those are Highway Patrol, aren't they?
Oh, I don't know.
Those were not RCMP.
Oh,
but I remember that movie.
I just wanted to make a reference to Super Troopers.
One time we were at the cottage and my family's like, what movie should we watch? And I'm like, yeah, let's watch Super Troopers. And everyone was like
funny.
really weirded out, and they're like, this is not funny.
What?
Like,
it's so
it was
funny.
Like my mom, it's like really like stoner comedy.
When the guy's on mushrooms, it's funny.
Yeah, I thought that's why I suggested it. I thought it was hilarious.
It
but
is hilarious.
It wasn't the mood. Yeah, so then he ended up joining the Air Forces, which I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's because he loved Top Gun. Like, but also like his extremely meticulous personality really seemed to go with the military.
Very regimented.
Yeah, it seemed to be a good fit for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined the forces in 1987. He received his flying wings in 1990, and he ended up really excelling and doing really well. In 1991, he was promoted to captain, and that was the year that he married his wife, Elizabeth. Oh, yeah. So I told you about him dating that girl. I think he may have had one other girlfriend in high school, possibly, but then there was that one girl, and then after that, he didn't date anyone else until he met his wife a couple years later and married her in 1991. So he had very few relationships with women.
Okay.
It seemed that he did not do well with women.
Yeah.
Not
I
great.
mean, he thinks hiding in people's closets and jumping out is fun. So I feel like
that's not my ideal man.
No, not quite. Do you know how he met his wife?
Do not remember. She worked in
She wasn't in the army.
No, she's not. She's not a military person. She worked like really high up in, I feel like it was like Heart and Stroke Foundation or something. Some foundation in Canada. Like she's a career lady.
Like charitable.
Yeah, but it was, I don't know that she was like philanthropic. I think, I don't know.
It was a job.
It was a job. And she like had done very well for herself. She's a career woman.
I wonder what she saw in him.
God fucking knows. I'll pull up a picture of him now so that I have a couple pictures. So here, this is like him and his uniform.
So far he doesn't sound so bad. Yeah, he looks kind of angry.
He's like, this is a normal picture of him, and like in the army, like
I mean, serious
photos,
face.
you're serious, whatever. So she married Elizabeth Harriman. That's her name.
Okay.
In 1999, he was promoted to major and posted in Ottawa.
Nice.
In 2004. In 2004, he earned a Master's of Defense Studies from the Royal Military College of Canada.
Okay.
So he's really like working his way up and doing extra stuff. In 2009, Williams was sworn in as the wing commander at the Canadian Forces Base in Trenton.
Okay.
The Trenton Air Base is the busiest military base in Canada. Flipping here. It serves as the focal point for all Canadian military operations overseas. So it's like the huge base here.
Okay.
And it's interesting because this all takes place, it's all like along the 401. So like when I go to my cottage, which I won't identify where exactly that is, but it's off the 401. And all the places that I'm going to mention are along there. Okay. So, like, literally last weekend I drove by all these places.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's funny because I still don't know what's going to happen. I have a vague sense that he might murder somebody at some point. I don't know. Get that vibe. But it's like he's in this, like, extremely prestigious, like, government military position.
Yes. And he gets, like, I'm listing all this stuff just so that you really understand, like,
he's up there.
He was up there.
Like, respected.
Very well respected. So I'm, at this point, he's working a lot at the Trenton base. And he's overseeing thousands of people. Like, okay. He's high up. I think I said he was a captain.
Yeah, one of those military words.
Yes, which I do not know a whole lot about military stuff, but it's very like you go by your rank or whatever.
Right.
And while he was there, he would often stay at his cottage in Tweed, Ontario, which is very close to Trenton, a couple of minutes away.
Okay.
And his wife would stay at their home in Ottawa, so he would travel back and forth. And I think at some point he became a colonel, which I think is higher than a captain.
Yeah, that seems...
Somebody correct me, I don't know, but that's what he ended up as a colonel.
Sounds very official.
Yeah, and he was, like, described by everybody as a rising star in the military.
Shit.
His work took him to a lot of places. He was in Ottawa and Quebec, and he had a stint in Dubai for a while.
Cool.
And he was an air guy, so he was flying a lot of people. He flew a lot of really important people. He flew the Queen. He flew the Prime Minister. Yeah, there's pictures of him with the Queen. Like,
that's like John Wayne Gacy with the First Lady.
Yeah,
there's a photo of him with her.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's him, and that's where he was at the time.
Okay.
Russell Williams' crimes seem to have began in around 2007.
Okay.
I don't know if he was doing anything else before then, but if they were completely under the radar.
Okay.
So at this time, as I said, his wife was living in their Ottawa home, and Russell would be there on weekends, and during the week he would stay in their cottage in Tweed, Ontario, which was very close to the base. And evidently it seemed that the man had a lot of spare time, especially because his wife wasn't there. So During his spare time, Russell Williams began breaking into people's homes.
Weird.
Very a la
and he's like
his prank days.
Yeah, and he's like this respected guy in the military.
Yeah, he's like
you have a lot to lose.
High up colonel, but okay.
Okay, tell me.
He doesn't sneak into the homes for like money or expensive items. He breaks into the homes to be just the creepiest motherfucker.
What does he do?
Oh,
this is so weird.
Let me tell you what he did, because
okay.
It's so fucked up.
Okay.
Russell would break into homes, and he would go through the women or girls' rooms. He would steal their underwear.
Oh my god.
He would try on their underwear and lingerie.
Whoa, okay.
He would frolic around their rooms in the nude. He would masturbate onto their beds.
Oh, I don't like that.
He would drape their underwear over his erect penis.
Sure.
And get into their sex toys if they had any.
Okay.
And sometimes he would leave behind the items that he used to masturbate with. He would photograph and videotape himself doing all of this. Most women didn't even know he was there.
Yeah.
But in some cases, he would leave, like, freaky messages. Like, one girl had, like, a little note that said, "Mercy," on his computer.
That's
her
weird,
computer,
yeah.
sorry. The break-in seemed to follow a pattern.
Okay.
Once he would get in, he would first photograph the room. Then he would photograph the underwear in the drawer.
Okay.
Then he would take out all the pieces that he liked, and he would put them on the bed or the floor, and then he would photograph that. Then he would put the pieces on and model them, and he had a couple of signature poses.
Oh my god.
He would do a front-on shot.
Are you going to show me?
I am. And then he would do a back shot that's over the shoulder.
This is taking such an unexpected turn. Oh my god, she's showing me pictures. Wow,
okay,
he's very muscular in these women's outfits.
This is like the girls that he
imagine.
He broke into rooms and took lingerie of girls as young as 12. Some sources even say 9. Like, this is a young girl's bathing suit.
It's creepy. Yeah, that's true. It is like a little like tankini, like bikini situation. It's weird because he has like this completely serious like expression on his face.
He takes this so seriously.
Yeah, it looks the same expression on his face that was when he was in the military. And he's posing front shot, back shot.
And, like, look how, like, exactly the same every shot is.
Yes, they're exactly the same.
It's so meticulous.
That's weird.
It's like, you are posing in a little girl's bathing suit, and yet you are still, like, okay.
What's the motivation for this?
It's so weird.
Okay.
So he would take his signature
This is
poses.
taking a turn.
His photo shoot would generally end with him. Oh, he would also take a close-up of his penis protruding from the underwear.
Sure.
And his photo shoot
not?
would generally end with him ejaculating, often onto one of the victim's items, an item that he would leave behind.
Gross.
So some poor, like, 12-year-old girl
Ew.
is fine. She's like, what is this? Like, disgusting.
That's gross. Yeah.
Horrible. Gross.
Do you have photos of that?
No.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I thought, okay, taking the underwear, sure. Like,
no,
jerking off, fine. But the photos of him wearing it, didn't see that.
So not only did he photograph everything, but being the extremely meticulous person that he was, he documented all of his crimes, like, in a spreadsheet.
That's incriminating.
So when the police eventually went through his things, a huge portion of their work had been done for him. Like,
oh, there you go.
And so only, like, certain photos came out to the public.
Right.
I think a lot of the, like, super graphic ones that I described earlier of, like, his penis protruding and et cetera, like, that they didn't let out. Okay. But, like, the ones that they let out to the media are, like, a lot. Like,
well, are we going to post them? Maybe not.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Like,
so weird.
There's, like, hundreds.
It's just, and, like, photos of him in outfits.
And that's, like, he would arrange it on the bed. He would just have
photos of, like,
so much
really
of it.
Nicely organized bras in a drawer. Good job.
And I'm sure, like, he arranged. No, I'm sure that was him.
He did that. That's so weird.
Well, because I'm pretty sure that this one is, like, all the, like, the collection that he had.
Yeah, true. That's very, very well organized. Imagine you just go into your lingerie drawer and it's just been organized. And you're like, who the fuck did this?
Yeah. So, and a lot of the people didn't know that he did it, or like thought, like, you know, just didn't assume that, like, some guy's breaking in and trying on all their stuff. Like, right. You know, if personally my underwear drawer is just, I just toss stuff in there. Like, I would literally never notice if anybody did anything unless they organized it. Then I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah. Even if you took something, I wouldn't really notice.
If somebody took, like, 10 things out of my underwear drawer, I would never know.
Right. So weird.
Right?
Oh.
And so I think, like, only a couple people maybe noticed and, like, said things about it. Like, it was on the police's radar, but not to the level that...
It doesn't seem that crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, if you see that happening in your neighborhood, like a small town, whatever, you're going to assume it's, like, some young guy, like, who just is weird or whatever. Yeah, you're not assuming that it's, like, the freaking colonel from the military base who's flying the queen around is, like, you know, doing that. So at one point, he had stolen so much underwear that on 2 occasions, he had to take piles of the underwear and lingerie and, like, go burn them in a field because he had so much.
What an unexpected habit.
Like, it's so weird. And okay, so I read there's somebody put out like a case study of this whole thing, which was actually really interesting to read. And they were, it's like trying to figure out where this came from is somewhat impossible and hard because it's like clearly it's like some sort of like fetish or like what they call a paraphilia. Okay. Where he's like obsessed with women's underwear and stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely like, a sexual like
it's
fantasy.
It's a paraphilia.
Okay.
Which it's like, and it seems, because I don't know what his like sexual relationship was with his wife. She has not really said anything, obviously.
They weren't really living together.
But they weren't really living together. Yeah. It seems like they were both like career people. They didn't have kids. They didn't, like, they had, I forget if they had cats or dogs, but they like, I'm pretty sure it was cats. Don't really remember. But I don't know at this time, like, if they were super close or not, but it seems like that's how he got all of his sexual gratification. I wouldn't be shocked if, like, that's, like, he would only get real sexual gratification in that sense.
That's the vibe I'm getting. And it's so compulsive. And also, how could you replicate that really with your wife? Like the what's the word? Like the invasive aspect of it. Like the fact that he's doing it without them knowing. Like, I'm sure that's where he gets off, obviously.
Exactly. And, like, there's got to be something about him, like, wearing it. Because, like, what else would you put it on?
The photographs.
I think it's, like, something with, like the fact that it's, like, so small. And, like, he, like, squeezes himself into
Maybe.
it. Ugh. Sorry, it was just really gross. The like really disturbing part about it is like he would do it to like young, like a 12-year-old girl's room.
It's actually, I mean, the whole thing is very disturbing, like the invasion of privacy and everything. But it's just like, what? And there was one story about how he actually like was spying on people. Like he spied on this girl, like creepy.
Getting undressed and going into the shower, and just like stood in her bush, like jerking off in the bush. Like,
yeah, that's like nightmare shit.
Yeah, it's really disturbing. That's why I like living in a high rise. Like you can't.
True. Yeah.
Can't do that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, So after about 62 break-ins, and the numbers are
That's a lot.
the numbers are kind of all over the place. Like, but the most consistent number I seem to find was 62. That's when his crimes begin to escalate.
Oh shit!
So it's not really that much that's funny anymore. But
oh no!
In July 2009, Russell broke into the home of a Jane Doe. Mm-hmm. She's not been identified and doesn't want to be, so we'll respect that. She was asleep in the room next to her 8-month-old baby. Now, I'm not positive if it was the baby was in a different room and she was in one room. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. Okay. I don't think the baby was right there. Okay. But it's possible that it was.
Where's this going?
So he broke in and he bound and blindfolded her.
Wow.
So terrifying.
Yeah.
He fondled her breasts, took naked pictures of her.
Gross.
And he stayed in her home for 2 hours, sexually assaulting her.
Oh, no.
But he didn't rape her. Like, he didn't, like, penetrate her with his penis.
He just
sexually assaulted her and, like, was super creepy and, like, touched her and photographed it, videotaped it.
So scary. Oh.
But he did end up leaving after. And, like, imagine not being there and being blindfolded the whole time.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
For one thing, thank God you were blindfolded because it's because she didn't see him that he was able to leave her alive.
Right. If you see your kidnapper, you're fucked.
Yes, you don't want to see your kidnapper. Yep. So in that one sense, you'd be like, okay, thank God. But also, like, you've got an 8-month-old baby, you're there by yourself. Like,
everything about it's terrifying.
Horrifying. And you probably are, like, you don't think that logically when that kind of stuff is happening to you. So obviously you think you're going to die. But
how are you ever going to feel safe in your house after that?
I have no idea.
Like, I would get, like, 10 scary dogs.
I didn't find out how he did it, but I know, like, he's a lock picker. Like, it's the type of thing. And this was in 2009. I don't know how common security systems were at the time. Now they're like extremely common and whatever, but I think they were like super expensive at the time. I don't think a lot of people had them. But it's like, how scary is it that, like, you can lock your doors, but, like, someone still breaks in?
I hate that.
It's not.
I have pit bulls, so nobody try and break into my house.
Well, exactly. Like, if you live alone, get a big old dog.
Tough looking dogs. Like to bite.
Yeah. And so he didn't rape her, and he left after 2 hours, and the next day Russell attended a charity event that he helped plan with the Criminal Intelligence Service of Ontario.
Oh my God.
The nerve of this man.
Yeah, that's...
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's what really makes it super fucked is, like, he's not just some, like, creepy drifter, like, basement dwelling gremlin. Like, he's, like, a respected military guy. Oh my God.
And also, it's, like, I just think it's so scary when people, like, of authority in uniform, because it's, like, how do you...
Then who do you trust?
Like, the people who dress up as cops and, like, come to, like, assault you or kill you, like, that is the scariest shit. Because, like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, John Wayne Gacy did that, I think.
I forget. There's a number of them who would, like, have cops uniforms and things like that, but, like,
horrifying.
That is terrifying.
Know your rights. They have no reason to arrest you. You don't have to go with them. But yeah, that's fucking scary.
Terrifying.
And it's scary because it's not like he's just dressing up as a cop. Like, he's legitimately
an Air Force guy or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Oh my God. Okay, go on.
So 2 weeks later, Russell struck again. This woman was named Lori Messico, and she was asleep in her bed. And
my God.
She woke up to Russell punching her in the head.
I hate that.
Like the last woman, he bound and blindfolded her.
Okay.
He like took it a bit further this time. I'm not sure if he actually raped her, but he definitely stepped it up. He made her assume a bunch of pornographic poses while he photographed her, and he's
so creepy.
And he stayed in her house for 3 hours. But, like, he was really weird and awkward. Like, at one point, he was apologizing for punching her in the head.
That's a thing. They do that.
Yeah, and, like, let her take an aspirin. Like, there was...
What the fuck?
He was, like, chatting with her and stuff. And,
he's probably craving, like, intimate contact because he wasn't getting it with his wife.
Because I'm sure he probably wants all these, like, sexual gratification acts, but, like, from somebody that will, like him as a person.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, some people like it when they're unwilling, but I think he, as a human, probably craves intimacy to an extent and maybe didn't get it with, like, the divorce and all that stuff, the lack of friends, the lack of girlfriends. So he just, like, is kind of projecting it a little bit in between bouts of, like, creepy ass rape and molesting.
Yeah, and you'll see it a little bit more.
Okay,
so then things even escalated further. So the next woman that he attacked, her name was Mary France Como. Mm-hmm. And there's very little information about her. I think her family really wanted to keep things private and, like, they didn't want to be interviewed by the media.
Okay.
There was she was a corporal, so she was Corporal Mary Mary France Como.
Was she in the army with him?
She was a 38-year-old military flight attendant. So he actually met her one time. He was running a flight that she was working on.
Okay.
So as I said, there's not a lot known about her, but there was an Air Force memorial service, which her family did not attend. They were like happy for it to happen, but they didn't want to be a part of it.
Okay.
And I'm going to just give, they said this about her.
Okay.
Personally, Mary France was universally described as brave, amiable, and charismatic. She had a healthy zest for life in everything she did, aimed to maximize every experience. She was fun-loving and kept her coworkers on their toes with her mischievous ways. Her infectious smile made a positive impression on anyone who had the privilege of making her acquaintance.
Aw, she sounds cool.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that because like there's I could find very little about her, and
she's
like
super pretty.
She's gorgeous.
Aw.
And
did she die? You haven't said yet.
I said there was a memorial service. So
oh, okay. Yeah, I know. It was implied. Aw.
So,
rest in peace.
As I said, he met her on a military flight. He met her one time. And I believe during his interrogation, he mentioned that she had mentioned that she lived alone.
Oh, God.
So after that, he was able, through his work, to gain access to her personal information. And he stalked her.
Oh,
she lived in... Yes, it's extremely creepy.
He's so fucking creepy. Why is he like
the worst?
This? Yeah, he's really bad. I don't like him.
So she lived in Brighton, which is another little town very close to there. I've been there.
Oh, nice.
It's actually really cute.
Shout out.
And so while she was away, he staked out her home.
Ugh.
He parked about 600 meters away and then broke into her basement. He did his usual disgusting photo shoot.
This is awful.
Yeah, he did a photo shoot with all her underwear and whatever.
It's so weird.
She noticed the disturbances in her underwear and she blamed it on her ex-boyfriend.
Like she thought he might have broken in and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
So he had broken into her basement to like check it all out, got into her underwear. She was like, oh, it must have been my ex-boyfriend. Like a reasonable thing to assume.
Yeah.
You don't assume it's like
a random guy.
Random.
I mean, that ex-boyfriend sounds like kind of a dick.
Who knows? But I think she was dating somebody else at the time. So, like, I don't know. So, on November 24th, 2009, Williams broke into her basement again while she was on the phone. He hid in her basement behind a furnace, and he was there for 35 to 40 minutes.
Oh, my God.
And he was waiting for her to go to sleep, but she never made it to bed because before she went to bed, she came down to find her cat. Her cat wouldn't come upstairs. So she goes down to the basement.
The cat knew.
The cat was sitting there staring at him.
Oh my, cats are so fucking smart.
Yeah. So
I'm getting a cat.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
But like the cat didn't help. Like
that's
she just identified. I mean, either way, like I don't know what would be better. Either way, like it doesn't end well. So
yeah. Oh.
So she sees him behind the furnace, and as soon as he realizes...
That's so creepy.
Yeah, imagine you go down to your basement.
I'm never going into my basement ever again. Actually, I mean, yeah, I'm going to be in there all the time. Don't go in there. Oh.
Don't break into her basement.
Yeah.
So she realized he was there,
that's like nightmare. Like, that's literally my nightmare.
That is what, like...
Every time I go in my basement, I'm like, all right, let me bring a dog with me just in case.
Every time I'm home alone by myself, like, that's like... It's like, I'm like, oh, I just can't think about somebody. And like,
yeah.
Personally, I don't really fear it because I live in a high rise. I just feel like it's safer. Like I don't.
No, I know what you mean. There's not hiding places like that.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide. There's one entrance, and I think it's way less likely for it to happen.
Yeah.
In a high rise apartment. It's like everyone would hear. But anyways, so when he saw that he was caught, he jumped out and he began beating her with a flashlight.
Fuck.
They struggled because she fought back.
Yeah, she's strong.
Yeah. But eventually he got her onto her back and he subdued her. He tied her up with some clothes to a pole and he took photos of her while she was unconscious. She was naked except for a shawl. Like she'd come to, I'm sure she was probably going to sleep naked or whatever. And she just like, came down in a little shawl to get her cat. And whatever. But as we can probably see, he's like a very meticulous planner. And he did not expect that to happen. He was expecting to wait for her to go to sleep so he could surprise her in her sleep, like he had done with the two other women.
Right.
So I don't even know, to be honest, if he planned to just do the same thing as he did to the other women, but because she saw his face.
Oh.
I don't know if that's what led to this escalation.
Maybe.
But it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, she's tied up. He then went to secure the house, like make sure that she was alone and that nobody would see. He then brought her upstairs to her bedroom where he raped her repeatedly for 2 hours.
What the fuck?
He videotaped and photographed the whole thing. So
incriminating.
Well, that's the like crazy part is like,
why?
Well, clearly, like, I guess he liked looking back at it or whatever. And like, he, I guess, didn't think he was going to get caught. But like, that's the good thing about this whole case is like everything, like there's no escaping that he did this. No, like no way in hell.
I saw the photos. The underwear photos.
Yeah.
That was him.
During the whole ordeal, she begged to be let go.
Aww.
At 2 points while untied, she tried to make a run for it, but he caught her both times. There were several moments in the tape where she can be heard screaming, quote, "I don't want to die. I don't deserve to die."
Ugh.
End quote.
She
and
did
just
not.
begging. At some point during the assault, he had duct taped her face, including her eyes and mouth and one nostril. And he was attempting to smother her with a pillow, but she struggled free and once again attempted to run, but he caught her and subdued her, and then he placed duct tape over the last hole over her nostril, and he sat and watched her expire.
That's terrifying.
And like videotaped it.
What the fuck? This escalated so much.
Mm-hmm.
He was just this weirdo in university, and now he's doing this?
And
watching her die?
Just watching her just like, and how terrifying would that be?
Just, yeah.
What an awful way to just
That's a bad way. I mean,
repeatedly raped and sexually assaulted for hours, and then just there's nothing you can do.
That's
you just
insane.
Duct tape over every orifice on your face.
I hate him.
It's horrible. So one thing is very certain, and one thing we learn about Mary France from this is that she was so strong. She fought. She did everything in her power to fight to get out. She begged, she screamed, she ran. There were moments, and it's on the tape, where he had just finished raping her, and she's like still trying to like use her hands to get out of the restraints. Like she literally did everything she possibly could.
Have you seen? Are these tapes like out there?
No, okay. But they're described.
Right.
But like he had the upper hand. He came.
What a fucking creep! And obviously he's probably huge. He looks like a big guy.
Yeah, he's huge. And like,
sorry.
No worries. She is like a trained military woman. Like that's like as much as you could expect as a woman. Like, but
she has all the capabilities any woman could have.
But just it's almost enough just being like caught off guard.
Yeah, that's true.
If somebody is prepared to kill you and you have no idea, they always have the upper hand.
Yeah.
And then it's on top of that, if they're stronger than you, if they have a weapon, like he didn't have a gun or anything. It was like a flashlight that he was using and like binding people and whatever.
But he probably liked doing that aspect of it. Like, it doesn't seem like he just wants to go shoot you, you're dead. It's like he wants to like torture you.
Yeah. And it clearly doesn't seem like it's the killing aspect for him. Like it's clearly like the like raping and like
photographing
and everything. But it's like she saw his face. So like he had to get rid of the evidence, you know?
Shit.
And so that all happened. Based on the video footage that he took himself, the police determined that she had died around 3:30 a.m. And right after her death, he cleaned up. He washed her sheets with bleach, photographed himself doing this as well.
Why?
He placed her in her own bed, and he pulled a duvet up over her, and he left her there, and he left out the patio doors.
He left her there?
Mm-hmm. He left her dead body there. Then he got in his car and drove to Ottawa for a meeting. He threw away his shoes and the rope that he used to bind her on his way, and he got out of there. And her boyfriend discovered her dead body after checking in on her
That's just terrifying.
After she failed to show up for a date.
That is fucked.
Horrible.
How, like...
There was a neighbor who said that she was, like, she saw the whole thing of, like, him coming and, like, coming out crying, and...
He was crying?
The boyfriend.
Oh, the boyfriend. Yeah.
Not
dude,
Russell.
You have no fucking reason to cry.
No, nobody saw him. Okay, so after Mary Frances' death, it appeared that Russ took a break from breaking and entering, and that was until January of 2010. So not a huge break, but
like
a little
year,
break.
less than a year.
Yeah, because that happened in November of 2009. So he basically took like a 1 or 2
like a
month
couple
break.
months, yeah.
But like less than like, because he was constantly breaking into people's homes.
This is crazy.
But I'm sure he was just kind of waiting. He's like, fuck, I actually like killed somebody.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah, I was
gonna
wondering,
happen?
maybe he's,
like waiting for forensics.
Yep.
So then we come to his last victim, Jessica Lloyd. Jessica, as well, there's not a lot about her. There's a little bit more. There was a 48 Hours episode that her brother was featured on. They didn't say too much about her, but what we know is that she was 27.
Mm-hmm.
She was just starting out. She had just bought her first home. She just bought a new car. She was just starting out in a new career.
She looks good.
You can tell, like, her and Mary France, like, they're about 10 years apart, but they're
kind of similar looks.
They've got similar skin tones. They both have dark hair and blue eyes. They're both, like, quite beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so she was obviously super well loved and seemed to be a nice person and just getting started in life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extra sad, but Russell Williams, first noticed Jessica through her window in her home while she was running on the treadmill. I guess he was prowling about.
So creepy.
Being a fucking creep.
Yeah.
And after he saw her, the next day he broke into her house to make sure that she lived alone. She did. And after his initial break-in, he left and parked in a field behind her house and waited for her to return and go to bed. He broke in again while she was asleep, and she awoke to him hitting her on the head.
That's fucking terrifying.
And so he didn't blindfold her first. So clearly,
now he's ready to
now he's like, I murdered someone else. Well, we'll just murder her too.
Yeah, I guess he didn't get caught with the other one.
Yeah, not at this point. And so, like Mary France, he tied her up, and I guess she saw him first, but then he covered her eyes with duct tape. And he laid her on her stomach and removed her clothes. So what Williams did really differently with Jessica than he did with Mary France was that he made her believe that everything was going to be okay.
Oh, I don't like that.
He like very explicitly was like, it's okay, I will let you go. I'm just going to do this shit to you and then it's going to be fine. And this tactic worked because she complied with all of his demands.
It subdued her.
Which I think that he learned from the last incident that like she freaked out because she knew she was gonna die. Yeah. So this time he was like, "No, it's gonna be. Don't worry, I'm gonna let you go.
So
just let me have my way with you." And of course, like if you think that they're gonna let you go, you'll just do what they say. Yeah. Until they let you go.
You don't want to push it.
Exactly. So he raped her multiple times. He made her engage in oral sex with him, both him on her and her on him. He tied a rope around her neck while he was getting her to give him oral sex. And he was like, you do what I say, otherwise I'll choke you to death.
Great.
Because like that is like in that scenario where like you're being raped and like they're trying to make you do that, like you're like, okay, good, I could just bite down and like severely injure you. Yeah. But if you're,
got the rope there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So that happened. Once again, Russell captured everything on video. At one point, he even went so far as to start gathering lamps from around the house to like make better lighting for his videos.
Fuck?
Like he was.
Why is he like this?
No idea.
That's weird.
Like he's got some obsessive habits.
Yeah.
Let's say. After 3 hours of torture, he took Jessica in his truck and brought her to his Tweed cottage, leaving a perfect boot impression in her driveway.
Shit, he took her.
Yeah, he took her in his van.
Was she still alive?
Yeah. Oh
God.
So he took her to his Tweed home and he continued to torture her for another 21 hours.
Whoa.
While in his home, he forced her to shower with him. He let her sleep for a couple hours.
That's just, okay.
And eventually she could tell that she was about to have a seizure. She was prone to seizures. And she started telling him, she's like, I'm going to have a seizure. Like, you need to take me to the hospital. Like, this is being brought on by stress. She begged him to untie her. To go to a hospital. And some of her final words to him were, quote, if I die, will you make sure my mother knows that I love her? End quote. Can you imagine? On video.
That's so sad.
He never took her to the hospital. The seizure eventually subsided, and he continued to rape her and abuse her. God. When he finally finished raping her, he got her dressed. He gave her some fruit. He told her that he was going to drive her home, and she believed that to be true. And on the way out to the car, he's leading her out to the car, and just goes behind her back and beats her with a flashlight.
God.
So he knocked her unconscious, and then he strangled the life out of her and photographed her dead body.
Ew.
And then he left her in his home for 3 days, and then he returned and took her body to a nearby location where she was later found.
Shit.
Yes.
That's insane. There's like so much to it. He's a fucking military colonel, someone that's supposed to be protecting the country, and he's doing this shit. And it's like, the videos, like, you're gonna get caught.
And they were on his work computer. Like, he
What
just
the fuck?
had everything.
Did he want to get caught?
I think he just, like, didn't think he was going to get caught. And, like, his wife is off living in another home. So he just,
like, no one's there to check on the computer.
Yeah, and, like, he seems to be getting, like, I feel like once you get away with, like, 82 or, like, 62 breaking and entering, you, like, think, you're like, okay, well.
But murder's a little fucking different.
It is, but, you know, like, getting away with stuff, I think
it gives you a sense of confidence.
Yeah, and clearly there's got to be some sort of like narcissism in there, like
definitely some type of personality disorder. I mean,
sure, or something, just something that leads you to believe, like, and also like being so high up in the military, like, just makes you feel untouchable. I would maybe have to imagine, and of course that's all speculation. We have no idea, but God, it's interesting.
What a fucking creep.
Yes. So this is where. So what happened was, after her death, so she died, but nobody knew she died. Everyone assumed she was missing. Right. She was reported missing right away, and people were searching for her. Lots of people in the community came out to search for her. They were looking. The police started to connect Mary France's death with all the breaking and enterings. Sorry, I've got something in my eye for sure.
You have an eyelash here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's on, like, it's still there. But it's down.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Is it gone?
No, it's still there. Still there. Okay. No, it's still there.
Can you remove it?
Yes. Okay, got it.
Thanks.
Let's put it over there for evidence. Just in case I need your DNA for anything.
Oh, it's everywhere. They started linking Mary France's death to the break-ins.
Right.
And that's when I think she goes missing, and it's like, okay, they're putting it all together, and I don't know if they were exactly linked, but they were definitely putting everything in the same situation.
It's similar.
They were looking into everything in that way. It's just another woman that had been either abducted or killed. They don't know at this point. At this point, she's missing.
Right.
But what they had at her house were the footprints and the tire tracks outside of her home. And mind you, this is like 11 years before they had the forensics that we had. So they're definitely way behind on, they probably would have had way more had it been right now. You know what I mean? They also had a witness come forward to say that they saw a Pathfinder truck parked in her driveway, which they noted as unusual because she didn't have that truck and it was at the time of her disappearance. So that was his truck. So the police began canvassing the area and stopping motorists to try to find the tire impressions. So on February 5th, 2010, Russell just happened to be driving by at this point in his Pathfinder truck, which apparently was not the truck that he normally drove. He had 2 cars, and it was like...
that was like his murder car?
Yeah, I guess. Terrible. He was stopped by the OPP at a checkpoint, and they were making it appear as though they were looking for drunk drivers. But
smart. Very smart.
Then they would slip in questions regarding Jessica Lloyd, who was missing at the time. So when they stopped Russell, he started acting super weird, and he was like, "Oh, I'm in a big hurry. Like, I have to go. I have a sick kid at home," which is a lie.
Yeah.
And it only lasted about 90 seconds, but they did match his tires at that point because they were looking for a Pathfinder because he was a Pathfinder. So they looked at his tires. I guess they photographed them or whatever they did, matched them, and then at that point they let him go. They're like, "Okay, see you later," and they started surveilling him.
Oh, thank God.
And on February 7th, so only 2 days later, Russell was asked to come down to the police station in Ottawa to answer some questions. He asked no questions about this and about why they wanted to speak to him.
Do you think he knew?
Of course. They just said they wanted to talk to him, and he agreed to come in right away. He was not initially under arrest, and he was told that his cooperation was voluntary, as that normally happens.
Nice.
He also wore the same boots to the interrogation that he murdered Jessica in.
What? He
was interviewed by Detective Sergeant Jim Smith, who was an absolute pro.
Oh.
So most of this interrogation...
You love interrogation
Yes,
videos.
if you haven't realized by now, I love interrogation
You
videos.
love a good interrogation.
I love it.
It's a skill. It's definitely...
It's amazing.
It's like a masterful you know?
It's so, they have to be so slick. They also have to be so patient. They
Yep.
also have to be nice to horrible people.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it's on YouTube. There's actually, so one of my favorite YouTube channels is this guy who I think I've mentioned before.
The
I think
psychology one?
Yeah,
It's
I've
like
told you. I think it's like
something.
JSC or JCS or whatever, but he puts out videos very infrequently. Don't love that.
Do more. Madison needs more content.
Please. And he has one on this interrogation.
That's cool.
Although it's now listed as unlisted or restricted or whatever, but you can still find it. I don't know why it got unlisted. I think there's a couple aspects of it that like were just incorrect. But his analysis of the interrogation was brilliant as usual. And yeah, this guy did a fantastic job. And I think it's my belief that Jim knew going into this that they only had very circumstantial evidence.
Wait, who's Jim?
Jim is the detective.
The interrogator. Okay.
The interrogator.
Okay. Yeah.
He knew that they had a boot print and tire tracks, which like that is not.
It's not a lot.
It's not enough to convict somebody on.
Right.
That's especially like a tire and a boot. Like those are all like very common.
Yeah.
It's not a fingerprint. It's not DNA in any way. So but as soon as they start asking him questions, like it's super clear that he's nervous. And like, I think an innocent person, like he just was like, you know, he starts asking him questions. He's like, you know, you're kind of geographically linked. He's like, yeah, that's true. It's true. Like he's just like, he's calm. He's like cautious.
Yeah.
And
he has military training. So he's probably got the ability to like have a poker face kind of.
Right. But he doesn't try to like bring his authority into it. He doesn't question anything. Like he just like takes it.
Yeah.
And it's very clear that he's like trying to think about what to do, but he doesn't know what to do. God. He's courteous. He's appearing to be helpful and respectful, but he's clearly nervous and he's trying to remain calm. And that's I think the biggest thing for me is like he doesn't question why they're asking him about anything, or he doesn't try to prove his innocence at all.
Right, an innocent person might kind of like try and suggest that they weren't there. Or
yeah,
wasn't them,
exactly. Like if I were innocent, I'd be like trying to think of where I was at the time to be like, okay, look, you can rule me out by this. Like, you know?
Get an alibi.
Yeah, and so during the interview, he's like, the detective's like, so are you like, you know, you're here voluntarily, but like, would you be willing to give me like blood, saliva, and DNA to rule you out? And he's like, yeah, sure. Okay. And he gives them the boot prints, and then he comes back and they're like, okay, so it's a perfect match. Like, and the interrogator, like, it's obviously like a boot, like anybody could have these boots, right?
Right.
But he's like, this is basically a fingerprint, blah, blah. Like, and he makes it seem like it's like way worse than it was. And I think that's when Russell's definitely started to get freaked out, and like you can tell at that point he's not denying anything.
Yeah.
He's just like sitting there. But then he starts to say, and I don't know if it's true what he said, but he's like, right now there's a search warrant going on your house in Ottawa.
Uh-huh.
Right now your wife knows what's going on. And so that's when he was like, he just like gave in. And like
he admitted it?
All the evidence is there.
Yeah. I mean, he fucking literally has done a better job of providing evidence than like...
And I doubt that a search was actually taking place.
Oh.
I doubt at that time that they had enough.
Right.
But they're allowed to lie. And if he knows there's evidence in there, then he's going to get freaked out. And especially when they're like, well, your wife now knows. And apparently they had just gotten a new house or something, and it was his wife's like dream house. And he's like, just don't like...
Dream's about to end.
Basically all he was like, just please, like, just don't fuck up her house too much. Like, she just really wants to, like...
Nice.
I feel like they had like a friendship or something. Like,
yeah.
To me, it just seems like they're
like
not
a beard,
like,
essentially.
Yeah. But not for being gay, just for being a freaky individual.
Yeah. Not in a good way.
Yeah. So anyway, so he starts just asking, it's like, basically he has to drag everything out of him.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, okay, so like, where do you want to start? And he just starts asking him like, what happened here and what happened there? And he just recounts everything. And he knows it's all on video. So it's like, I believe it's all quite accurate, but like, he's drinking his coffee and he's just very nonchalantly just being like, yep, I raped her and this and that. And like the guy will be like, okay, like, did you penetrate her vaginally? And he's like, yeah.
Does he seem creepy or does he seem normal?
Let me show you.
Yeah, I want to see this.
We'll take a little little
because I feel like with some of these gentlemen, they seem very normal, and that is scary in
he
itself.
seems definitely normal enough. Like, I would never. Okay, the one thing that like everybody gets on him for is his hairline. It's pretty bad.
I'll tell you where the membership cards are.
Where are they?
They're in the house there, but
In Ottawa?
yeah.
Whereabouts?
Some in the camera bag, which they would have found in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And when you walk into the office on the left side, there's a desk of drawers, set of drawers, like a filing cabinet, wooden, IKEA. In one of the top 2 drawers, and there's a plastic divider.
Yeah.
And there's inside there are 2 memory cards.
Okay.
Which are blank, but I'm sure they can be
And whose images are on those cards?
well, I've erased them, but I expect you'll be able to draw images of Jessica and I.
What about Marie? Why do you think these things happen?
Oh.
Have you spent much time thinking about that?
About why?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know the answers.
How far off the road is she?
40 feet.
Is she covered with anything?
She's wrapped up.
In
She's
what?
on the surface. Just a gray something or other cover.
Okay. Barry, the obvious question I'm going to have for you is, when they go there, and they'll be there shortly, they're going to find her?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He almost seems normal, except he like has this vibe about him where he's like he seems like somebody with a bit of an antisocial personality. Like he's like not making eye contact. He's kind of like, you know, like, okay, this is an audio podcast, I'm doing body language, but he's like kind of like curled his arms in, and like he kind of looks like a kid. Like he looks like a kid that has issues.
It's been caught.
Yeah.
I just think a lot of his like kind of maybe antisocial personality, which I don't know if that's what it is, but
Right.
I think a lot of it could be, people could just be like, oh, he's a military guy. He's like,
Yeah, he's not that expressive.
like, I think military generally lends itself, like, they break you down and then they want you to conform, and
Interesting.
it makes you, I think it possibly can make people like more quiet and maybe withdrawn.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. But he doesn't seem like a creepy, like schemy, smiley pervert. You know what I mean? Like
No,
he doesn't
not at
seem
all.
like John Wayne Gacy, like some of his, just shout out because I've been watching some of his interviews. He's just got this like satisfied, like rat-like happiness about like his creepiness. Whereas this guy's just like, yeah, I did this. Yep. Very matter of fact. Like you'll find these memory cards, which, I mean, it's weird.
Yeah. And at that point, like, he gives like,
He just gave in everything.
he gives everything, but he also like speaks as little as possible. Like
Right.
to every question that he can just go, yep.
Yeah.
He just yips and like confirms or denies. And
I wonder what he was thinking in that moment. Like, because you know what it is too that kind of kills me is like, you're gonna, like, you the victim, or sorry, the perpetrator, you're gonna be treated so much better than the fucking victim. Like, you're gonna get, what's the worst you're gonna get? Jail time. We don't have the death penalty.
Well, yeah, you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean,
not saying that jail is great, but like,
no. I mean, I think, because like, I don't think they think about it like that. Like, they don't like have that empathy for people where they care that they're dead. Like, to me, I do find, like, on a scale of killers, like, there's like Israel Keys who like clearly did not give a shit and like
right.
openly. This guy, I feel like I think it's impossible to tell, but I do think he has some sort of remorse for like the killing aspects.
Interesting.
I believe that. To me, like, after watching so many different serial killers, and like a lot of them, once they like get caught, they like, Israel Keys got like super cocky, or like Ted Bundy, or
right.
Paul Bernardo, whatever, they just like give off
Clearly
this like
do not give a shit.
clear narcissism.
Yeah.
This guy, like later you'll see, like he sends apology letters to everybody, and like not to say that that's like makes anything okay or any. It just like, to me, I really don't feel like the killing aspect was what he.
It
like,
was more the sexual.
That's not what he was there for.
Yeah.
So I'm sure in some way, like he didn't like really want to kill them. So he's probably feels bad in a way for that, or at least feels bad enough for himself, or at least feels like a lot of, I think, serial killers who end up in jail, like they don't feel ashamed about being in prison. He seems super ashamed.
I mean, he's literally spent so many years of his life basically being the opposite.
Yeah. He seems super ashamed and embarrassed. And I mean, I think probably a lot of it has to do with like all the lingerie photos that
is embarrassing. That is really fucking embarrassing, actually.
Quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
But he does give off a like somewhat remorseful, or at least regretful
interesting
vibe.
Okay. I get why you're saying that, though. I do see that more so in him. Like, he's certainly not boastful.
And I mean, I'm saying that compared to other serial killers, not compared to a normal person.
Yeah, because it seemed like for him it was like a sexual gratification thing, and the murder was more like
to get rid of the evidence.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't like a drawn out, like, let me stab you 1,000 times, let me like do a bunch of torture shit in the killing process.
Yeah,
he kind of like got that part done.
Exactly.
And then it wasn't like he like fucked around with the bodies, at least.
Yeah, he just liked to photograph them and videotape them.
Right, well, there you go.
Which is also extremely freaky.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Where am I? So he confesses. Mm-hmm. It's over. They know we did it.
He got caught fast, too.
Very fast. And he like leads them to Jessica's body. She's just like out on the side of the road somewhere.
What the fuck?
And all the evidence was seized from his homes. There's no doubt about his guilt.
Yeah.
On April 2010, he was placed on suicide watch after he attempted to take his own life by shoving a paper towel roll down his throat. And like,
okay,
that's not gonna work.
Creative.
It's like all he could do.
Was he in prison at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
So during his trial, he pled guilty to the 88 criminal code charges, ranging from breaking and entering, theft, sexual assault, rape, kidnapping, and of course, murder. During the proceedings, all the evidence came out. So like all the photos and videos came out. And it was
so embarrassing.
It was shocking for people. It
was
absolutely shocking.
It's pretty fucking
like
shocking.
People were like screaming in the court. Like it was horrible.
The fact that this is like a celebrated man, like it's literally a lot of the people we've talked about so far are like, you know, bottom feeders.
Mm-hmm. And this guy, yeah, that's like the most shocking part about who he was.
I feel like this is a stain on UCC's legacy, like the fancy school
he
went to.
It's a shame on every institution that he was a part of. And it's funny because there was, and like the military takes the case. I'll get to it and you'll see. But so he went through his trial. Like it wasn't much of a trial because he
immediately pled guilty.
But he received 2 concurrent life sentences with eligibility for parole in 25 years, which
maximum
I doubt I'll get.
In Canada?
Maximum sentence. He was placed in the Kingston Penitentiary with Paul Bernardo. Oh. That prison has since shut down. Mm-hmm. So he was moved to another prison in Quebec.
Prison buddies.
Once he was charged, the Canadian military stripped Russell of all his titles. They chopped up his medals, burned his uniform, and crushed his car for scrap metal.
Okay.
But he still gets to keep his pension.
What the? Why does he get to keep anything?
That's the rules.
Oh. I like how they burned his stuff.
They like take it really seriously, and it's funny because I was reading another article.
This is fucking serious.
They 4 years later, they like put out a pamphlet, and like it turned out that he was like in the background of one of the photos. So they like got them all back and destroyed them all. They take it seriously.
Yeah, destroy all evidence we ever like.
And that's like also why like nobody refers to him as Colonel Russell anymore, Colonel Russell Williams, because he's no longer colonel. They stripped him of his title. Like,
I mean, as they should.
Absolutely. I'll read you a quote that he said at the end of the trial or whatever when he had the chance to speak. Quote, "Your Honor, I stand before you indescribably ashamed." I believe that. "I know the crimes I have committed have traumatized many people. The family and friends of Mary France Cuomo and Jessica Lloyd in particular have suffered and continue to suffer profound, desperate pain and sorrow as a result of what I've done. My assault of Miss Redacted and Miss Smazzycoat have caused them to suffer terribly as well. Numerous victims of the break and enters I have committed have been very seriously distressed as a result of my having so invaded their most intimate privacy. My family, Your Honor, has been irreparably damaged, and the understandable hatred that was expressed yesterday and that has been palpable throughout the week has me recognize that most will find it impossible to accept, but the fact is, I deeply regret what I have done and the harm I know I have caused many. I committed despicable crimes. Sorry, I'm just turning a page here. Oops. Your Honor, and in the process betrayed my family, my friends, and colleagues, and the Canadian force. End quote. He also sent letters of apology to all 4 of the victims and their families, and to his wife, who has since divorced him.
Yeah.
The trial was over, but they discovered some child porn on his computer.
Gross. And
nothing seemed to have been done about it, and he refuses to admit to it. He admitted to everything, but he refuses to admit to the child porn.
But they found it on his computer.
They found it on his computer, and at that point, I think they were like, okay, like, he's already in prison, like, let's not get involved in that. Enough. But, like, that's also super fucked up, and, like, it makes him even, like, worse if you could be even worse.
Yeah, that's literally disgusting.
So as I told you before that it was a case study that I was reading, and it was published in a forensic psychology book. So it was like going through like his crimes and like what different things that they thought led up to this, and like they obviously discussed his childhood and like the weird things with his family, and like they didn't have a lot of information.
It's not that weird from what we've heard so far.
No, but there was one interesting thing that I thought was worth mentioning.
Okay.
So there was some sort of chronic pain that he had, and the reports. Okay, so I'm just going to quote this entire thing from somewhere. I don't even remember, but quote, reports indicate that Russell Williams served a 6-month tour of duty in Dubai in 2005, following which he developed an unspecific chronic pain condition and started taking prednisone. Prednisone is used to treat a variety of inflammatory and autoimmune diseases, and at least anecdotally has been linked to violent behavior.
Shit.
In an anonymous letter to the Toronto Star, a writer claiming to be a former co-worker said that Williams had been on strong medications that changed his behavior. Another unnamed source to the Toronto Star identified the drug as prednisone. Apparently, a neighbor also confirmed that Williams had been taking prednisone since returning from Dubai, and that either the pain or the medications contributed to his insomnia. Whereas chronic pain, prednisone ingestion, and sleep deprivation would have added to his stress, these factors in and of themselves could not account for the magnitude of his offending behavior.
Right.
But it's interesting.
It is interesting.
Because I don't know that they account for the magnitude of his offending behavior at all.
But like emotional instability, like if it, if it affects that.
It's just another factor that I just thought it might be worth including, since other people thought that it was worth like sending to the Toronto Star.
I think that's very interesting.
And it's interesting because another case that I'm working on, the Jeffrey McDonald case, which
that's going to be really interesting.
There's another theory from somebody of a drug that he was taking that they thought he might have been like taking incorrectly or taking too much of, that like was anecdotally linked to violent behavior.
It's absolutely a thing. Like even a lot of antidepressants can completely change people.
Yeah.
Or like the antipsychotics, like they can, yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought it was worth mentioning because maybe it doesn't like contribute to everything, but maybe it like aggravates the start of something that gets you going into something else. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about medicine, but maybe one of our viewers does know something.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody has some interesting insight that they'd like to share.
Let us know if you do.
Yeah. Another follow-up thing that I saw was there was a Maclean's article like 10 years after the fact that was trying to sue Russell's wife or ex-wife at the time because they thought that she knew about everything.
Oh,
so there's big controversy because a lot of people think that she knew. She claims not to have known about anything, and there's no way to tell whether or not she did.
Right. And
she's kept one of the homes. She's divorced him. I believe she might get a bit of his pension. I'm not sure. I might be making that up.
That's interesting if she did or didn't know, because it kind of seemed like he was doing all this stuff completely without her. I mean, why would she be involved in this?
I am of the mind to believe that she didn't have anything to do with it, or she didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But It's interesting. It's interesting to think about how somebody who's married to somebody doesn't know.
Yeah, but they didn't spend a lot of time together, right?
Exactly.
So he could be leading a whole double life.
Exactly.
And he's so non-expressive. Like, the way he talks is like, he kind of seems like he's keeping stuff inside no matter what.
I get the impression that they didn't have like a super close relationship.
Probably
although
not.
I get that impression from very little evidence.
Yeah, but they barely spent time together.
Exactly.
So that's weird.
It's all really weird.
Yeah.
And I wonder if we'll ever find out if she did know anything about it. But like, I think it was the Jessica Lloyd family who was accusing her of it, and I think actually trying to sue her.
Interesting. Do you know if they had any evidence, or?
I don't think they really did.
Interesting. So what grounds do they have to sue her?
Don't know. I don't have a whole lot of information. I just knew that they were coming out with that.
Okay.
And like, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, they're the victim's family, so they obviously deserve like retribution.
Yeah, and it's sad because I think it's just her brother and the mom left. I don't know what happened with her dad or if he's in the picture or not, but it's like, it's so sad when it's
so
like,
sad,
especially when it's like such a small family and there's like one kid left or something.
Yeah,
it's all terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's so lonely.
Damn.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the whole story.
So is he still in jail? He's kicking around?
Still in prison. I believe it's a prison in Quebec. Kingston Pen shut down, and that's where like a lot of the
was like the
horrible offenders were.
High security prison.
And so now he's there, and he's just
doing his thing.
Super hated. Everyone hates him, and reasonably so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And he's just chilling in prison now.
Yeah, and now everyone just has the photos of him in all the underwear.
That's so embarrassing.
And instead of leaving a like really great military legacy, this is his legacy.
Wow. I mean, I knew a murder was coming, but I did not see this coming.
I know. In this case, it's not like the murders are obviously shocking and horrible, but that's not the shocking aspect of it. To me, it's like his meticulous behavior, his photographing and videotaping. Like, that can't be stressed enough how freakish that is. Like, imagine you're being held and raped and beaten and assaulted, and like all the while they're like, he's just focusing on like finding good lighting to like videotape this, and like he's also videotaping like himself, like he's videotaping himself raping.
He's probably obviously like getting sexual gratification from that.
Absolutely.
I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's horrifying. It's
very
to imagine.
American Psycho.
Very.
Damn. That's crazy. It's like, I'm sure at the point that he got caught and he was being interrogated, he was like, all right, all my respect is out the window. Like, this is all over. I mean, I feel like when you're a serial killer, you have a sense that like this potentially could all come crashing down at some point.
Yeah.
So he's probably like, all right.
But another interesting thing about the case study that I was reading too is they were like, we can't technically classify him as a serial killer because he's only killed 2 people.
Is it 3? You have to have 3?
In their, I think there's might be some debate about that, but in their
I've heard that
theory, whatever,
in that definition.
But they still kind of did classify him as a serial killer because they made the, I think, reasonable assumption that if he hadn't gotten caught, he would have killed again.
Yeah. I'm sure he would have.
And there was a point in very interesting part in the interrogation where the interrogator asks, like, if you hadn't been caught, would you have done this again? Mm-hmm. And he like thinks about it and he's like, well, I'd like to say no. Like, and it's like he avoids the question, but it's very obvious that he would have done it.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
Why would you stop?
Yeah.
So that's that.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of like freaky Canadian Ontario. And also I'm aware that this is my second guy with a last name Williams who is like a military guy. Actually, I'm pretty sure the last guy, Stephen Williams, I think he was Air Force as well.
It's weird stuff. Because I think that half the people who are drawn to made up statistic, I don't know what percentage, but some of the people drawn to law enforcement like seek power. Like, I think some people do it because they are just looking for like respect.
But I think military is even different than law enforcement. Like, I think they both have like a power and authority aspect to them. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people, I think a portion of people, I think there's a lot of people drawn to it for like the protection aspect who like, they're like, patriotism, wanting to protect people,
wanting to have like a meaningful job,
exactly. It's meaningful. It's very masculine. So if you have those like really like masculine, like if you have a real masculine
Insecurities.
energy and you
Or,
want
yeah.
to direct that in a good place,
Uh-huh.
the military is for you.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's also a place where maybe you get to kill people.
Right.
Maybe you get to injure people.
You get to do violence.
Maybe there's the possibility for all those things. And I think that's why someone like Israel Keyes was drawn to the military, because he spent some time in the military.
A lot of serial killers and like creepy people.
Yeah, obviously
So.
it's a spectrum, and I think there's people who go into it for the absolute right reasons.
Yeah.
Because whatever, but yeah, it's interesting.
Wow.
And I'm sure he would have done really well to like folding your clothes and making your bed aspect. of it.
Yeah.
I rated this a 6 out of 10. And I mostly did that. Again, this is not a case where like a whole lot of people died. There's 2 deaths, but
Mhm.
there is so much rape.
Yeah.
There is so much assault, like literal torture. The way that these women died was horrific.
The fact that this is always what happens, but the fact that he got off on it sexually, I feel like just drives it way up there.
The sexual act, like I feel like a lot of the times rape is talked about and it's like you kind of talk about it and it, like you don't really feel so much about it, or like you don't take it in how horrible it would be to be raped. Like I've never been raped, but like I just can't imagine. Like imagine you're just tied up and somebody is like, it's just one of the most, like, besides being murdered, it's one of the most invasive, just horrible things that could happen to you.
So true.
And like he repeatedly tied up and raped these women.
Yeah, and like tortured them.
And it was horrific. I don't even, like 6, maybe even 7. I mean, it's a lot. I think I've definitely heard of like way more extreme situations, which is why I say 6.
Yeah.
But it's definitely up there.
I agree with you, and my reason for it is the fucking hiding in the house, hiding in the basement. Like that is genuinely the scariest. Like that is what I fear. You know what I mean? Like that's what when I go into my basement, I always have that thought. You know what I mean?
And that is exactly why you have that thought, because you're afraid that somebody's hiding down there.
That to me
is or a ghost.
Yeah. I mean, I'd
rather a ghost.
I know, me too. I'd almost rather a ghost.
100% rather a ghost.
Right. A nice ghost, obviously.
I'd even take a demon ghost over like...
Oh, I don't know. Actually, yeah. It's all bad, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd for sure rather have like a nasty ghost than Russell Williams in my basement.
Agreed. That puts it up there. And I think the fact that he's so like highly skilled and obviously capable and intelligent, like that's creepy, because it's not just like he's like this like brutish guy that's
that even might even like drive it up to like a 7 for me. I think
I'm putting it at 6.
Like I said, like when it's somebody in an authoritative role, it's just all the more like inescapable and terrifying. Because like, how do you get out of it?
Oh God, I know, this is up there.
So yeah, that's it. Please, if you've heard about the case, give us a shout. If I said something and it's incorrect, please correct me nicely.
Yeah. Be nice.
Yeah, send us a comment on our Instagram page at Who's Knocking Podcast. Please send us an email.
Yeah.
hello@whosknockingpodcast.com.
We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear what you thought. We'd love to hear suggestions for future episodes.
Definitely.
Respectful criticism.
Yeah, we can take it.
Or if you want to be mean, that's fine, but maybe we'll not take it seriously.
We'll just be sad.
I will not be sad.
We'll just be happy that someone's listening to us.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take it. All attention is positive.
Yeah, give us a rating, whatever you so feel inclined to do. Share our work if you'd like. We're so happy to have you, and if you made it through the whole episode, congratulations. You listened to us for however long we rambled for.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us talk about murdery shit.
Yeah, because we just really like to do that.
We'll do it even if no one's listening.
Yeah, exactly. But we are sweltering in this closet for you, so you're welcome. I'm literally, my knees are sweating.
It's healthy. We're detoxing.
Yeah. And just, you guys always remember, you never know who's knocking.
Goodbye.
This podcast is produced in collaboration with Lost Line Media. Artwork by August Digital. Music by Matthew Cook.